Price management. When RMs have accurately forecasted buyer demand and monitor their products' availability, their next task is price management. Let's recall from Chapter 5 that the establishment of an initial price is the first step in revenue management. This is all because the demand forecast for hotel rooms reflect buyers' response to an establishment price. Price management is the process of adjusting that initial price to influence demand. To illustrate, consider your own personal interest in purchasing a 5-night stay in Miami, Florida to visit South Beach. If you are like most buyers, your interest in purchasing the 5-night stay can only be determined. After you know its price at a very low price, your interest will be likely high. At a higher price, your interest will likely decline. Thus, it is an RM's response to forecasted demand and supply levels at initially determined rates or price that is the essence of price management. Ang mga hoteliers ay pwedeng mag-promote ng initial rate offerings based sa variety of factors including season, their hotel's location, its operating cost, and the service level it provides. Understanding exactly how hoteliers historically determine their initial room price is helpful in understanding how it is done today, as well as how hotels' initial rates can be price managed to optimize revenues. Essential RM term. Price management, the strategies and tactics employed by revenue managers to best match rates or price charged with prospective customers' willingness to pay. Historical perspective. In the past, surprisingly little was written about the complexity of hotel room or food and beverages pricing. In the hotel industry, most of the available literature focused on the relative pros and cons of using different cost-based mathematical formulas. These formulas were all developed to establish initial room prices. The conceptual basis for the individual formulas varied, but the Hubbard room rate formula, named after a Chicago hotelier of the 1950s, the $1 per $100,000 rule, and other rate development methodologies all shared cost-based orientation. Each sought to establish a hotel's ideal and target ADR. Based on season or a variety of other factors, hotel managers and their sales departments were initially judged on their ability to achieve high percentages of their targeted initial rates. As I have learned, however, while cost certainly must be considered in rooms pricing, cost cannot be allowed to be the primary consideration in a differential pricing system designed to maximize revenue per available room. Yet prior to the 1980s, a handful of 1950s and 1960s era cost-based price management systems were in use by the great majority of hoteliers. The initial financial result achieved by the application of yield management strategies to pricing airline tickets were nothing short of dazzling, chiefly because, as its proponents pointed out, each incremental revenue dollar achieved was gained without an increase in the cost of flying of the planes. If you see the similarity between an airline's yield and hotel's ADR, as well as the similarity between a plane's load factor and hotel's occupancy percentage, you can better understand why the lodging industry was fascinated when in early 1990s some hoteliers began to apply the 1980s developed yield management strategies to their own businesses. An airline's performance is measured by two factors. These are yield, the amount the airline is paid per passenger flown, and load, which is the percentage of seat filled by those paying customers. The paradox and challenges faced by airlines is that high prices could result in flight yields that were also high, but as a result, loads would often be low. Alternatively, low pricing might result in higher loads, but of course, lower yields. Thus, on those flights where demand exceeded projections, prices would be maintained or increased. On those flights where demand was less than originally forecast, ticket prices could be reduced. A variety of restrictions would be used to ensure only new flyers would be permitted to obtain the new fares. Thus became common the purchase restriction, change fees, cancellation fees, and other ticket change limitations now common in the airline industry. The end goal of the airline's price management strategies, of course, was maximization of the airline's total yield, which they calculate easily using formula. America's logical and easily understandable prices were quite literally sitting ducks for yield management's increasingly sophisticated pricing system. By October 1992, Crandall stated that his new pricing program was dying a slow death. By November 1992, American, like its competitors, was back to reluctantly manipulating thousands of fares throughout its system.